Hello, everybody. This is Sree from BizBuzz. What matters the most in your business? And sponsored by MyWorkbelt. MyWorkbelt is a software, act as an operating system for running a service-based business. Check it out. It's myworkbelt.com. And today we have a guest, Debbie Longo. She is an executive behavioral coach, founder of Life in Bloom NY. The website is lifeinbloomny.com with over a decade of experience transforming workplace behaviors. She helps business owners and executives create high performance cultures with drive, growth, productivity, and profitability. And Debbie, how are you doing?
Doing good. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Excellent. Thank you very much for joining me, Debbie. So, when you say behavioral psychology and strategic leadership coaching, demystify that a little bit in respect to small businesses.
Yeah, it mainly has to do with the way that your mind works, your attitude, and your behavior, right? So there's a difference between what I do, which is coaching, and what psychology is. What's the definition of psychology? Therapy, like what somebody learns when they go to school to be a psychologist or a therapist, different things like that. This is a completely different thing. So there's a few ways that I work, okay? And this is all on the back end. And one way is I take an inventory of the business owner, okay, and what they want to do when they fill out a survey, and this is all part of the consultation. And then I work with different forms of energy and thoughts just come to me, okay, different things like that. And that is how I'm able to help. That's one of the ways, anyway, that I'm able to help the business owner come to the plan that I have in order to help them to succeed, ultimately to increase sales and profits. Okay, so
So, when you
that's
say high performance meaning there is a um, let's say making 5 hours of work on a daily basis. And when you high performance, you will be able to, as a business owner or a business leader, you should be able to do more work, but less stress and less drained. Is that make sense? Am I understanding correct?
Yes, that's true. But also, another side of the coin would be meeting my goals.
Hmm.
And every year I meet my goals and I go above and above and above. And that increases my bottom line, therefore increasing sales and
Certainly.
profits, or the other way around. But that's a way that I could do it. That's based on my mindset and behavior. But what you're saying is, of course, also based on that, because that could be anything, mindset and behavior and how I think and my patterns and the things that I do, in my life and in my business, that all contributes to what I physically do in
Understand.
my business, in my workplace, mentally, obviously. But first it's a thought, and then the thought is followed by an action. I'm not a
Right.
robot, right? Where things are programmed, into my brain,
That is correct.
Right.
That's
I
correct.
have the
Well, I mean, we
ability to
all
think for myself.
yeah, we all read the book from great Napoleon Hill, is Think and Grow Rich, right? So
Right.
if you don't have a thought to grow your business or grow, become rich, you will not be achieving that, right?
Right.
So when you are talking about coaching the small business owners, so what do you suggest to the business owners? Usually they don't, well, I don't need a coaching. I'm not broken. This is the kind of a behavior, some people think that way. So tell me why a coaching is necessary for small businesses, small
Right.
business owners.
Did you ever hear of every person must hit bottom?
Yes.
So, right. So, what happens is that they are going to know
Hmm.
that they need a coach when
Mm.
their business is falling
Mm,
apart and they
mm.
file bankruptcy and now their business is going out of business. Okay.
Oh no,
And
that's scary.
right, they're at their bottom and they have to do something right this second. Otherwise, they will not be in business tomorrow and they will not have any money to put food on the table for their family. They won't be able to pay their bills, their mortgage. So, this is a very, very serious thing. Obviously, of course, we don't want it to get to that point.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
But the business owner has to understand and create the willingness that they have to do something. And until that happens, nothing's going to happen. And that's one of the reasons why I do the podcast is to get the message
You
out.
see, one thing that puzzles my mind, and I'm sure you have done extensive work in this area of coaching business owners. And for you yourself from the history that you were coached by your coach, and about when you were 19 years, right? Now, my puzzling question here is: see, a lot of business owners, and in general, a lot of parents in United States, they recognize the need for coaching to their children when the children are aspiring to become sportsmen, right? And football coaches are in high demand, tennis coaches in extremely high demand. And you name a sport, they all have coaches, and the entire society accepted the coach is needed for upskilling their children. But why these business owners don't recognize the need for a coach to upskill them in running?
Right.
What is it stopping them?
So when I'm a child, I'm willing to grow and learn. Why? Because I
Right.
don't know anything, right? I
Uh
don't
huh.
know a
Uh huh.
lot. But when I'm an adult, I already know things and I'm set in my ways and I've already
Mm,
created a mental pattern for
mm.
myself. And
I
that
see.
will constantly be repeated over and over. And I will constantly make excuses, okay, as to why I don't need coaches. I don't need to even eat right.
Mm,
Maybe if I'm a little bit heavy, right? I don't
mm.
need to eat right, right? And there's so many excuses and so many reasons that we give ourselves not to do, not to get the help. I don't have money for it. Okay.
Mm.
I don't have the time. These are all just things that are not true, right?
It is true. Correct. Correct.
Because if I want to do something, right? You ever hear of where there's a will, there's a way? Because,
That's correct.
right, because if I want to do something, then it will happen. And that's the bottom line. And I will work with anybody. It's not, I could do it at any time, and I work on a sliding scale, so those things are not even true for me. But if somebody's going to make those excuses, that's fine. And a lot of people don't even know what coaching is. That's another thing too. And that's
That's
why I
correct.
do the right. And that's why I do these podcasts also, because I have people from different industries. Like I'm on this show with you, this is a different type of conversation that we're having than my other shows, right? Different things like that. And that will help people to become familiar with what coaching is. Because if you don't know what you don't know, right? Hindsight
You
is
don't know what you don't know.
2020.
Right. Right. Now, that's a great
Hindsight is
wisdom you're
2020.
sharing, Debbie. That's a great wisdom you're sharing. So the coaching. I mean, I've had a business coach when I started my business. Right. Now, what I'm hearing from you is as we human being, as we grow in the age, when we were young, we we recognize that we don't know, we don't have a specific skill, we are open to take a coach. Whereas as we grow, there is something is triggering and something is telling inside our subconscious that I don't need a coach anymore. And what do you define that? What is that
Right.
that is preventing me from?
Well, there's a lot of things, but the thing is, when I first start a business, right? I
Yeah.
don't know the business. Let's say I want to open up a car wash. I don't know how to work a car, how to open. I might know how to work in one, but I don't know
Hmm.
how to operate one, right? How to be
Right.
an owner of a car wash. So I need somebody to show me, right? So I get somebody somehow, Okay. Maybe somebody that's in the field or whatever. That's a coach.
Yes.
Okay. But
I
then they
see.
don't label themselves as that, right?
Oh, I
So,
see. I see.
right. So then they do their business, they develop their business, right? And
Hmm.
then they get set in a certain way, in a certain pattern, right? In a certain process. And they do
Right.
this day in and day out, okay? And
Gotcha.
they don't see if their business is about that. First of all, that coach is gone,
Hmm.
okay? That original coach that they had,
Yes.
because they only need them to set up their business and that's it, which is not true. Okay,
Right.
because that's a big mistake. Because that person that helped them set up their business knows them, knows the business. You know what I mean? So
Right. Right.
they should, right. So they should be able to call them throughout the time that they have that business, right? And that person will help them. And I could help somebody start a business. It doesn't matter what business it is. I don't
Correct.
know that specific business, okay? But I'm not going to help them with that, but the way that I teach them, they can do it, or they could get somebody
At,
to help them
at the
start
end
the
of the day,
business.
the coaches are holding the holding the business owners
Right.
accountable,
Yeah.
right? And that is actually relieving themselves being procrastinated in doing what they're supposed to do. It's not that business owners have a bad thinking or they hate their business. Otherwise, they would not even start it if they unless they like it. But the family dynamics come into play, and roller coaster ride of up and down going in the business come into play. So at times you get discouraged to go forward with it, and that's where I believe coaches come into play, and they give it a slap on the wrist. Hey, don't go down. Let's get up, pick up, and let's go move forward. Right. And
Right.
what is the one tip that you would offer to business owners that would encourage them to look into hiring a coach so that they can move forward or
Right.
grow in their business?
Well, here's a very simple one. They can make a goal, a
Yes.
realistic goal,
Hmm.
not only yearly, because that's going to take a whole year. They can
Yes.
make a realistic goal for a week and a month. And then if
Hmm.
they don't make that, right,
Hmm.
then they probably need a coach.
Oh, what a wonderful tip. That is a very simple and very elegant. Debbie, thank you very much for joining me on this show today and your wisdom and tips that you're offering. So, you are suggesting a coach is a necessary for small business owners purely because as we grow from being child to the elderly, we are using more and more excuses to deceive ourselves that we are okay, we don't need a coach. But in reality, we are in need of coach all through the life and all through our entrepreneurial journey. And if somebody doesn't know if they need a coach, you have offered a wonderful tip that pick a goal for a month or for less than a month and see if you can achieve or fail. Once you fall apart and not be able to achieve the goal, that should trigger and ring the bell that, hey, you need a coach. And that's a wonderful, simple technique. And that will help most of the business people to rethink about the need for a coach and how the coaches can help them out. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope I summarized it well for what you are discussing here. Uh, I hope you enjoyed your experience being on the show here today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me.
Excellent. So, those who are listening, please rethink about it. Be able to use that simple technique to determine whether you really need a coach or not. And I hope that helps for you and wishing you all the best.
Thank you.